When you think of horror, you typically think of a wide variety of horror movies, and most likely one of those movies is one of these. The now famous and iconic slasher, a horror staple, a beloved genre by many, and for good reason. But have you ever wondered why? No, not why are they cheesy, but why do we enjoy the thrill of watching someone being brutally murdered in various comical ways? What makes slashers so popular and so much fun? Slasher movies were conceived in the 1960s from Psycho. It took nearly 20 years for it to come to full fruition in the late 70s to become its own subgenre in the horror genre. The first wide-known slasher film to achieve critical success was the Texas Chainsaw Massacre in 1974. While this is considered to be one of the first slashers of the 70s, it wasn't until Halloween in 1978 which really kicked off the genre and started the many tropes we see in the rest of slasher films in the 80s. Other classic slashers from this period include Friday the 13th, A Nightmare on Elm Street, Child's Play, Scream, and many more. What all of these movies have in common is that they involve one person or entity murdering random people, typically in gory fashion. Now, what makes people being killed so entertaining? The first and most prominent reason is that we know that it's fake. When we watch a horror movie, our brain still perceives the threat as real, especially when we're dealing with watching another human kill others. This threat of another person activates our fight or flight response, and a splurge of hormones such as adrenaline is released. Since we're in a safe and controlled environment, there's no actual threat to our safety, and thus it becomes fun for some people. This thrill of being scared or worried about the characters in the movie can be addicting, and we want more. As I mentioned before, this reasoning can be applied to almost any other horror movie, so what makes this reason more applicable to the slasher genre? If we go back to our caveman days, we can see that we, just like most other animals in the animal kingdom, aren't a big fan of other members of our species. We see someone we don't know in a place that we consider to be safe, we get nervous, scared, defensive, etc. So when we take this idea of a known killer being in a safe place, stalking our protagonists, it sets off this subconscious caveman reaction and triggers our fight or flight in our brain. Thus, these entities in creepy masks offer us a good scare at most and leave us unsettled at the least. Additionally, we can't see the true faces of our killers in most slashers. It makes them less human to us. It makes them more intimidating, and thus, more scary. If you look into the eyes of someone trying to kill you, and you see these black, soulless eyes, it makes us unable to read and interpret the villain, making them more unpredictable. If we take a look at popular horror villains, we see that for a majority of them, we rarely see their face. Michael Myers, Ghostface, Jason, and Leatherface all hide their faces, and thus hide their expressions, leaving us to only ponder what sinister thoughts are going on in their heads. Other killers like Pennywise, Freddy Krueger, and Pinhead all do not wear masks, but their faces are disfigured or altered or covered in makeup, thus making them one step away from looking like a normal person. By having these killers not look like us, it makes them harder to connect to. It makes them less human to us, which relates back to our caveman response. This brings us to the next point of why we love slasher films. Similar to the caveman explanation, we are once again going back in time. Human beings are creatures of habit, and a habit that is etched into our DNA is killing each other. We have been killing each other since history was first recorded, and more importantly, we have loved watching our fellow human beings kill and mutilate each other. We as a species enjoy the thrill of watching others suffer, whether we are aware of it or not. Unconvinced? Let's look at a famous example in recorded history, the Roman Empire. The Roman Empire made famous the idea of watching others kill each other for entertainment. Gladiators, warriors who would perform dangerous stunts and battles for the entertainment of others, would participate in a variety of games. These games, also referred to as Munera, involved gladiators battling exotic animals, other gladiators, or executing prisoners. Prisoners were also sent into the arena to be ripped apart and mauled by these dangerous animals as a form of execution or punishment, while also serving as a form of entertainment for the citizens of Rome. Everyday citizens would attend these games and partake in watching these gruesome killings for fun. See any similarities? Coming back to the present, we can see this macabre interest from everyday people being fascinated by death in the form of true crime. People become fascinated with the idea of death, the idea of someone else taking someone's life. Murder is typically considered one of the worst things you can do to another person, so if you have someone who does it without thinking, with no remorse for others, it invites interest. You don't have to look far to see the reach of killers on our attention span. If you go and look through any streaming service, you can find catalogs upon catalogs of serial killer documentaries and biography movies. From ancient history to modern media, we have always been fascinated and entertained by others' suffering, both real and fake. Whether we are consciously or unconsciously aware of it, that interest is very much there, whether we like it or not. We are enthralled by violence. We love killing. From early civilizations to modern-day media, we are captivated by the kill, and it is essentially in our DNA. As civilized as we have become, we still thirst for danger and for blood, and we look to these killers as an escape from our mundane lives. If this video hasn't convinced you, I hope at the very least it provokes some thought and debate amongst you, and I thank you for your time. Take care everyone, and have a fun and safe spooky season.